Because so I was working on some of the class programs earlier, so let me go into work. All right, so see, I have some files in my work right now. And so if I hit submit, okay, now I cleared it out, so it just says I've deleted that and my log is reset to the top of that. And then you want to save that. Put that on my class spot. Clear and work. Okay. Move that down there. Okay. So let me continue where he left off. And so to do that, I need to pull out some of these files because he had already did the two-way ANOVA and was at the point of doing the univariates and getting the histograms at the end. So I need to recreate those files now. So I'm going to run this. So first is I'm going to pull out the NAS MASP file and sort it. This should be the code that you have because this is the code that I got from him. If this doesn't look familiar, let me know. Does this look familiar of what he did? So, and then this is logging, and then taking the two-way ANOVA.
Is that on the Dropbox?
It should be in the Dropbox. This is from what he did on Thursday.
What
Did you
your
get
code
that?
look like before you went to that table? See, that's where his code started, from what I pulled up.
Right here.
The proc GLM data NAS
Yeah.
2.
This is where he stopped, right? He did this.
And that's where his Dropbox starts.
So you don't have the stuff previous?
No.
Because the stuff previous was another day. Because I had the.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just go up. That's fine. Let's just go up and make sure this is all there. Okay. So let's start first with the NAS MASP file that you should have, right? And let me write down on the board kind of what it looked like. Okay, so this is February 04. So you got date, day, rep, section, species, N and NM2, right? And this is the okay. And so the first line one, and two. Okay. Okay, that's what that file looks like, right? That should be the one off the blackboard, right? That's the start file. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is you're going to sort it, and then we're going to mean it. And you always. Now this one doesn't exactly matter how we have species on the end because it's going to drop off on the end, but we need to make sure it's in the right order. So we're going to mean it and sort it, and so we're going to be summing up to the reps, And the reason why we don't have to do the two sum, remember like in the homework, you have to do the two sums. But this one, we already had sections and they're all 10. There is no section 3. So that's why we can get away with just that one sort, right? So at the end of this procedure, we should have file S, and it's going to look pretty much as, I don't have enough rows here. Let's see the difference here. Oh, no, it's out the sum. That's why. There we go. Here's the file. So file sum, and then you're going to have, so we go for, now it's by replicate, so it's the whole core. And so then you have frequency is 2, and is 7, and this is 1985. Okay. So we sort of mean this and we get this, right? Okay. Now we've got a data step. This is, I'm getting this from what he had. See, I don't know, he told me he got up to there, but it's up to if y'all said that he did or not. So what he's doing now is we take the sum file, we take this file, we're going to log this row, the nm square row, and then we're going to rename this to species richness S. We're also going to log it, and we're going to label things, and we're going to make another column named month that we're going to make from date. Did he show you this month date? This is what we're going to do in the homework. Okay. And then we drop those tables and then format. Okay. So now we run that. Then that goes back now into my ED folder. So now we have a pretty table. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we have a data stub, and now we end up with ED. So I'm hoping that everybody that's doing it, they have this file saved, right? Okay, because this is what we're going to do the two-way ANOVA on. And have date, station, and rep, and then you're going to have your core. Anyway, you get the idea, right? So everybody's got to this point. There's nobody that doesn't have this file at this point. Okay. Okay. I'll make sure we got there. At least to kind of refresh our memories, because this was on Thursday. So, all right. So now we do our two-way ANOVA on this file. Let me get rid of this part. That's what I'm going to talk about. Okay. So we do our proc GLM. on our pretty file. Okay. So we do our two-way ANOVA in this, and it's two-way because we have a date and station, and then the date and station interaction term, right? So this is what makes it the difference between the two-way and the one-way, right? From what he talked about the other day. And so you have to have this date, time, station, and that gives you that interaction term. And then now all the other items that we want to see, we can just list them on the side. So we're going to do a two-way ANOVA on the logged values and the untransformed values of individuals per meter squared, and then just richness. Okay? And then we're going to print out a Tukey test, and then we're going to do the residual. So we're going to have a residual file right here. Okay? And so we're going to end up with these residuals that we're going to test for normality like we did in the last lecture, right? And be able to print those normality graphs out. Okay. So give a second, everybody type that in. And I know he spent a while talking about how you can have this superscript. I can't do it on my laptop. I don't have the full keyboard, so I can't do the number pad thing. But what we'll talk about in a minute is what I end up using to put it in later, because I kind of cheat and type in that superscript 2 later. Okay. So everybody's ready to go? No? Okay. I'm gonna make sure everybody has it typed in. And if it needs to be bigger, let me know. I can make it a little bit bigger. Do you need it bigger?
No. But does it make a difference? Last time we used month instead of date, so that it would be in that same order? So it wouldn't be August, February, whatever?
Yeah, I think that you're right on that, because, see, I'm going off the printout he gave me, but that makes a lot of sense to me, because why else would we have done the month, right? I think what he was trying to do was maybe show you the difference between the two, but he already did that, right? So this was the start.
Okay.
So he already showed you with the difference of doing date versus our month. Again, this is what we're going to be doing for the homework too. That we need to collect those days together in a Okay. Are we good to go? All right. Okay, so it looks like that Tukey said there is a grouping. And so there's 3 different groupings here. Okay. And if we go up, then we can see our distributions. So it. Another difference, another difference. All right. So is everybody able to get that? Okay. So the things that I was going to talk about in this lecture that he wanted me to continue is mainly the printing and graphing thing, because he's not going to talk about that. And he's going to continue on, but I want to make sure that, so everybody's got that file now, make sure to save it, because when he comes back on Tuesday, you're going to start working from there. Okay? So, and the other lecture I did is we did a proc univariate, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start typing that out. And that's to look at our residuals to check for normality. Okay. So all I'm going to do in this univariate is I'm going to print a histogram and a probability plot. So, and I'm just going to pick one of them. I know I added them all up there, which would, you make this really big, one for each one. I'm just going to pick one because all I want you to show on this is really graph printing parts of this lecture. So I'm going to pick 2. And again, this is from the lecture the last time. Flat. Set. Okay. Phew. Okay, that's the histogram. Now I'm going to do the probability plot for the same. And actually no label. Okay, what am I doing wrong?
Quote for residual.
Got your quote.
I need to put it in, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So here I'm taking the residual from our 2A ANOVA that we did, and I'm taking the residual from the number of individuals per meter squared. That's the untransformed, right? And I want to create a histogram with the normality test and a probability plot with the normality test and print those graphs out. Okay, so let's run that. Okay. Oh, so it prints us, because I added all the other variables, but I didn't put a graph. Okay, so here's a probability plot, right? Doesn't look all that normal, but that's the plot. And then we move up, then we have the histogram. Right? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a procedure that you can produce these same graphs a little bit easier, and then the ability to edit them. So that's what we're going to work on today. Okay. So now that we've gotten to this point, and the thing is this is extremely useful to do because in a lot of times we need to print these and put these in publications. So if you ever do statistics like we're doing for a paper, you have to provide these in your publication. The problem is though is that the publisher wants it at 300 or 500 DPI, and then we got to have nice names. I certainly can't do, I can't get away with having this. I need to have that superscript 2, because then they're going to say, why don't you put that in there? So already I know I can't use this for a publication, right? So then you're thinking like, well, how am I going to be able to do that? Because if you take it in and then you put it in, say, Microsoft Paint or something like that, you're not getting any more resolution out of the picture. If you just blow it up, you'll just see more and more pixels. So that's not going to help you. You could take this and then plot it somewhere else, but then it's just like defeating the purpose. You've already printed the graph. Why do I want to print the graph, first here to see it, and then put it in Excel and then print it again, right? And then you increase the work for you double. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn a new procedure and this graphics editing software that comes with SAS. Where's my? Okay. So the first is we need this ODS statement. And let me make this a bit smaller here, because I had to put my path in here. Stick that down here for a second. Okay. So what we've said is that we're going to now use the ODS graphics. So this is the stuff that was from 9.3 on with SAS. Because the old stuff was what you had before. So now we have editable graphics, and this SGE, you say on. So now it adds header information to the picture, and so that we can open it up with a graphics editing program. And this will actually make a little bit sense on Thursday when I talk about opening files with some headers, because we're going to talk about file things on Thursday. But it adds header information to the picture itself. So you can open the picture and it looks just like a regular picture, but it actually adds some information into it about how we're going to change labels and move things around. You need to have a path, and this is the path where it's going to dump the picture out when we're done with it. And I just stuck it in my folder on my computer where I have all of my data in. So you take your path and you put it inside here. And then this is the DPI. This is what the publishers need. They said, we want something that has dots per inch. So there's 300 pixels per square inch. And so, again, it's not a matter of, we can't just blow it up and make it bigger. You'll just end up with bigger and bigger blocks. They actually have to have that high of number. So even if the resolution of the picture is maybe 800 by 600, it needs to have enough resolution inside that 800 by 600 so that when they print it, when it comes out on the printer, it actually makes sense. And again, if you've never published something and never had to do this, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but once you get a picture on the screen, a graph on the screen, it looks really good on your screen, try to print it out and you'll see what I'm talking about. You print it out and it doesn't look very good at all. I don't really understand how that is. It's just something with our eyes, I guess, that we can look at a screen and it makes sense. Anyway, so we're going to do that. And now we're going to use this proc SG plot. So as Paul was saying, instead of gplot, now we're using sgplot to use the SGE graphics. So this is the new plotting program that started in SAS 9.3. I'm going to give it the data file, the same residual data file that we produced before. And I want to produce a histogram and a density plot of this variable. So instead of typing all the gobbledygook up at the top, this gives me the same plots in the statement, okay? So let's go ahead and run that. Let me stick my folder back in the spot it came from. Okay. Okay, so I put my folder back there. I think I might have one in this folder already, so I'm gonna, oh, I have a bunch of them, looks like I've done them. Let me get rid of them. The ones I already had. Because now everything prints out there. Okay. Okay. Oh, one more. I guess I should have picked a different folder. Maybe it's a good, maybe you should pick a different folder inside. In fact, let's do that. I'm gonna make a folder and I'm gonna call it SGE plots. So that way it doesn't blow my folder up with all this stuff, because every time you run it then it's gonna put something in there. All right, and I'm gonna go back to my ODS statement. So if I run that now, let me just run this one statement. Make sure that executed. Okay. And let me go back. All right. Let's run this. Okay. So here we ended up with the plot. Looks a whole lot like the univariate plot, right, that we had before for the histogram. And for some reason, it looks like it didn't print the, oh, no, it just prints the two together. Okay. Because it's doing the density line. All right. So now if I go back to my folder, all right, so now I got these two files that are dumped in here. One is the picture, and then one is the SGE file that I can open up now. But here to kind of prove to you that it's got a bit more density in it, I can zoom in. So you can see it's got a lot more dots per square inch to the picture. But I've got some problems with this picture. This is a problem I need to fix, right? I need to fix this. I can't print that out to a publisher with this. Yeah.
I have a question. Does anybody else have different data than him?
Yes.
Right. Mine has like a big spike in the middle of the probability or the histogram.
And the middle value bar is at 0 and not
Yeah.
whatever number it is
Okay.
there.
Well, let's look at the residual then, because I'm getting this res ID from the GLM. So let's look at our res ID. Let's see if it's the same thing.
Because mine are all the files I saved when we did all this last week.
Yeah. See, this is new.
But it shouldn't be, it's the same data set.
That should be the exact.
Should be exact same. Okay. So here's my res ID, and I'm just doing.
Well, there it is. Look, when you changed your month label in your data set.
Oh yeah, look.
It's January 60. You don't have your
That's
months
right.
anymore.
That's right. Good call. Okay.
That right there. Format month, mon YY5.
Yeah.
I don't.
Let's see.
We did Monday.
For
Yeah.
right?
For date, and then,
Yeah, so that should just be, let's run that. Something didn't work. No, I don't think that works either. Let's see.
It's something about trying to format that month field. We just-
Yeah. Let's
Month
figure it
field,
out.
just-
All right, so let's see, here's the NES2. It's already in, but see, this is incorrect too. Because look at the one that I made beforehand. Because the month is always a January. So that's itself incorrect as well, right? Let's see. Look at
is it where you say month equals month, parentheses, date, in your data step?
this right here. This month equals month date,
Yeah,
Mhm.
right?
is that what's not right?
Yeah, this is what's not right. So we could do is here, this is part from what comes with the homework, is instead of this month field right here, because if I run this again, let's look at the log.
I don't think that's where the problem is, because mine ran just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something before
It's, I mean,
that data step is messed up on here.
the NES 2 says fine, it's when you create the residuals.
No, this is not correct on mine, because it's not produced, there it goes. I just ran it again. Okay? So now it looks like it's correct. Okay. Now let's try this again.
Yeah.
I didn't change anything, so. But this is why I like telegraphing the tables when I work. I like writing it down of which table has what, so that way I can verify each step that I did what was correct.
You still only have January.
Yeah,
It's,
I think it's because you're trying to format something that doesn't have date embedded in it.
could be.
The month column should just be a number placeholder. I don't
I
think
mean,
it's
the
got
log's showing,
embedded
yeah,
information.
the log's showing that the class variable month has only one level, Jan.
Yeah. And let's see. Wonder if that step actually changed the set. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. I don't think it's there. So we're not formatting it correctly still. Let's see. Yeah, because see, it still says Jan. Let's just not format it. Otherwise, I could do the full thing that we need to do for the homework, which would be a good tie into the homework. There we go. All right, so it's a formatting issue, right? Because now we have month 285, right? So February, August, and May. So if we figure out our formatting correctly. Maybe it's MUN3. I can't look up, I don't have the internet, so I can't look up what the formatting is for a 3-day date. Does it, for anything else, it'd be MMM, so it'd be month, 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 but it's gonna have its own special thing. What we could do is do what we're gonna do for the homework. So there's a whole procedure, and this is what we're gonna do for the homework, is we're gonna be converting the date into the month field, and so we're putting it into a period. And it works fine for this, just cutting off the year part and the date part, because they happen to sample just within months. But what happens if you sample just a few days before or after, and then you end up crossing a month? You don't want that as a whole segment, right? So we're gonna work on how to format that together. So here, if you rip that off, what did he use for that? Because y'all had MUN name 3, that didn't work for me.
We didn't format it in the Prop GLM last week. We just left it as 2, 5, and 8.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, well, I don't know I have to look up what the code is. I don't know what the code is off the top of my head. So if we leave it off, then we can just say 258. But again, that's actually a good thing. We're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix the graphics for that too. All right, so 258. Now, let's do our ODS and SG plot. Okay. All right, so this is our picture. Does it look,
Yeah, that's right.
looks the same now? Okay. So I need to fix, see in this, we're getting rid of the month items anyway. You know, that's all gone. But I need to fix this because this is not a really great name for a publication. I need to fix the NM raised to 2. All right, and I probably want to make that title a little bit bigger. And it would be really nice actually is to change these colors because they're all blue. I don't really like the all blue thing. So what we're going to do, now that should have printed that out. Now see, because every time I ran it, it put it down here. You see how many I've got now in my folder? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete them all. I'm gonna run it one time again, just to get one. Okay. There we go. Now I just got one. And this is what my picture looks like. Right? Alright, so now what you could do is we can now open this SGE file up. And we can open it up in this thing called the graphics editor. So it's under Tools and ODS Graphics Editor. If I click it right, there we go. Okay. All right. So now we open that file up, and of course I have to actually. It doesn't let me go through links, so I have to go through a ton of folders here to find my folder.
I just double clicked the file in my documents.
And it opens up.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed in this, like, you can't necessarily click links, and so then you're having to go through a ton of, there you go. Okay. Okay. So it's displayed at 100 DPI, but the file itself is 300. It's just for to visualize it there. But I can do some kind of cool things in here now. So if I go to font style, these are standard SAS style sheets. So if I pick journal, that's going to be the black and white journal file. So then I can transform that to journal style. So now I got rid of the ugly blue, right? And one thing I want to do is I want to fix my superscript issue. So I can do is I can actually click on the labels now. And then there's a way of bringing up I right click on it and I say compose rich text. And I can click this, raised. And I'm going to remove that. So it's just NAS two-way Nova. Okay. And maybe make it a little bit bigger. About that big. Okay. Now I'm going to change this one. Actually, I think I just want to get rid of it because it already says NAS on it. So now I got rid of that. So anyway, you wanted me to kind of show this off to you because this is a really easy way of editing these things instead of having to put label statements or title statements or any of that crazy stuff. Because depending on if you're using SGplot versus using gplot, the statements to actually do all those things are different. And nothing irks me more than when I made this huge statement in gplot only to find out my picture is unusable afterward because of one little thing. And then I have to open that up in Microsoft Paint and fix it. So I would highly recommend y'all playing around with it because it's pretty nifty. So like for one thing, I can make a whole new, let's see, edit the label. Right? So anyway, this is a pretty nifty thing to do. And I just recommend you just kind of play around with it and see what you can get. Because I noticed that like this one, I can't get the rich text item. And I had to insert text. You could type in a new piece of text here with the rich text editor. So you could add crazy symbols. And the other thing I like, and it's almost impossible to do this in SAS. You can, but let's see what's. I'm gonna add something there. Say, here's my mean. Okay. And other things you might want to do is you can add equation lines to it. Also works out. Okay. So now we're done with this. Let's finish some of the homework. And that kind of gets us to this date problem that we had with this one even. And I'm going to destroy my work file again. Since I have stuff in here and I don't want to have to close SAS and restart SAS. So let me open that program up I saved. It's clearing work. Okay. All right, so let me clear work. Okay. And now this is the file I made, and it gives us the last homework that you should have turned in yesterday. Okay? So let me move this up. And make sure we're on the, so make sure everybody got last homework. Okay, so first thing I do is I'm pulling out the Excel file from my class directory, right? Okay, so that's this NC MASP. Does this look like what y'all had? This is for the homework, right? Okay, so we've got a date, station, rep, sections, species, N, and NM2, and the first line is 19th October 87. Station is rep 1, section 3, species 8. Okay, so that's our file straight off of the Dropbox, right? And straight off of Blackboard. All right, now next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it from work and I'm going to save it into my class folder on the computer without doing anything to it. So it's saved there. All right, so I have a copy. Next thing is I'm going to sort it by date, station, rep, species, and then I'm going to do the means by date, station, rep, species, and do the sum. So this is going to sum the sections, right? This is the first question from the homework that was due today, right? So we're going to sum sections. By date, station, rep, species. So we're missing sec, right? So we're missing sec, so that way that's going away. Sections are going away. Okay? So I'm going to sort it to file out. Take that file out, and we're going to have out 1. Okay? So now we all have, so per core, now this is 1 core, this replicate is 1 core. All the species are there, the frequency count, number of individuals, and NM2, right? So this is what we end up with. And we'll just do the first line. Date, station, rep, species, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say N and NM2. So the same date. Species. Species 7. Okay. 1, 2, 280, 3.6. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to do our second sum, right? Because we had sections that we had to sum. So now, that was the next question in the homework. So now I'm going to end up with this file. Okay. Now that's summed up by each replicate, the number of species, the diversity, and NM2, right? So that last one we worked on earlier on the other file, we only had to do one sum. We didn't have to do the second sum. Because the other one didn't have sections in it. So if you skipped this one, if you skipped this and just went straight from the NCMASP down to this last file right here, we would get different frequency numbers. So any idea why we would get different numbers here? Why would we get a different total here for frequency if we did that? Any ideas?
Because with the sections divided, we technically have the amount of species is the top part of the section and the bottom part of the section, and we count it.
That's right. That's exactly why we have to do it twice. Is because so if you have this section, this is, say like this is the core. That's a big core. But say you had a core, then here's species 81, and down here is species, yes, 81. So when we did the first sum, we took that divider out and we just said, well, it's actually just species 81, and there's two individuals of them there, right? That only counted as one species. But if you did the sum down to here without summing the section first, it would say, it doesn't matter that they were the same number, it would just count them as a different species entirely. So then your richness would go up. This richness would be much, much higher. So in fact, when you run it again, you'll see this. Let's just do frequency, and it's called out2. So the frequency, we've got 13, 9, and 12. Let's just remember the first ones. That's for station C replicate 1, 2, and 3. All right. So let me redo it, and I'm going to take the original file. Actually, I'm going to take the sorted version. It's just out. That's the sorted version right here. And I'm going to name it out 3. Run it. Okay. So now instead of 13, 9, and 12, we have 15, 12, and 14. Right? So we ended up with the wrong total. Okay. So again, it's part of why I like telegraphing out these files, because when you can look at them visually and actually count sometimes by hand, you can see, oh, I messed up, and you can go back and look at it. All right, let me quickly go fix it. Fix it back. Speed up. 1, out 2. And now I save that out2 file, and I'm saving it back in my folder, and this is the composite data set that you should have gotten at the last homework. So does everybody have this file? You've got to have this file completely correct to do the homework due on Thursday. All right? And I had like half the class come and help me, so hopefully you got to that point. All right, so the problem we have with doing the next homework is the dates. So, real life gets in the way of doing the sample all on the same day. It's just not physically possible to do it. And so we have sample days 19, 20, 21, 22. All right, and I remember Paul went through this whole rigmarole about, how far apart are the sample days to make it the same sample. And we're essentially going to say, these are the same day. That's what we want to do, right? So we want to somehow make those the same day, and then we're going to make these ones down here the same day, because when we do our two-way on this, they need to be together, right? Otherwise, we're going to get a wrong two-way, because it's going to say, well, then that's a whole date range up here, this is a date range down here, this is, so we're going to get the wrong analysis, just like we did earlier today, right? So there's multiple ways to do this. And it all ends up boiling down to basically what we did before. You have to make another column. And you're going to have to make another column of either call it month or some sort of sampling period, okay? So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a data step. Get down here. Okay. Okay. So I'm taking the file that I had saved and I'm going to make a new file, right? And I want to make a new column and I'm going to call it period. And so this is essentially using the same month item we did, but now I'm going to do month, day, year. So month, day, year is, it's essentially the same thing as month, but it takes in both the month and the year. So we have to give it the month and the year. So the way to do that is we're going to take the month out of date. That's going to rip out the month part out of date, just like we did earlier. That's going to be the portion for M. And then we need to give it a day. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to take all those time periods, and I'm just going to say they're all on the same day. I'm just going to fidge. Just say they're all on the 15th. So I'm just going to say 15. So everything now will be on the 15th. And again, I'm going to take the year. So I'm going to pull that on the date. Okay. So I don't need that. Okay. So here's a little bit expanded of basically what we did earlier in the class. So we're making a new column called period. And we're just going to say, well, the period is the 15th of the month. And we pull the year and the month fields out of what we already have, and we stick it in there. Okay? So let's run that. Go back to work. So so you guess what this is? Because we need a format, right? The problem we had before. This one I know what the format is, at least I wrote it down. But what it is this is actually the number of days since the epoch of when time began. And time began January 1st, 1960, according to computers. So that's what that number is. Yeah, there's no time before that. All right. But, so let's do here. You can format that. That one. Oh, I need to say what it is. That's fine. There we go. So now that format dumps the date field. So all we're grabbing again is October. So we're grabbing the months. Okay. Again, that would work great if, so as long as you didn't sample, well, let's go sampling on the 29th, 30th, and then the 1st and the 2nd, then we'd really be messed up, right? Because then they would still end up in 2 different months, right? But this is at least, if you sample within the same months, you get that. All right, and let's see. I'm going to sort it. You ever done this before? Put them all on the same line? All right. So far looking good, right? Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do is a little bit more complicated one. So, now, what if I wanted to mean the dates? So instead of, let me look back at this table. Instead of just picking out, say, the 15th, I want to mean the dates, which is part of that problem if they sampled between 2 months. What I want to do is I want to mean these. I want to mean the 20th, 19th, 21, and 20. So that really should be 20th of October is like the average between those. Really want to mean that. So this is how we're going to do this. All right. So we're going to do a proc means. Let's do our sort again. But now we're going to do a no dupe key. I'm going to show you what this means. Okay. Dates. All right, so I'm sorting the NC. I'm going to pull out a file named dates by period, and then I'm going to run this thing called no dupe key. That's going to give me just those changed items. So it shouldn't be very many. Okay. So when I run the no dupe key, it just gives me those are the different periods. That's it. Those are the only different days. And now, do the means. And I know somebody was asking me the other day that why we couldn't drop something in a mean statement. And I think it's because of this equals. You could drop them at the end. So if you did a drop beforehand, it wouldn't work. But we can drop those tables in here on the output within quotes, and it has to be a drop equals. Then you can drop those tables at the end. Because if you drop them beforehand, then it's in the middle of the procedure and it would mess it up. So that's the way you can drop those out. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mean the dates. And we're going to create a mean called date X. And we're going to put it in this date mean. All right. So now these are our new meaned dates. Now the problem is we've got our mean dates. Now how do we join it back to the other table? That's the problem we have. And so in order to do this, we have yet to do this, is combining two tables together. So we're going to learn a brand new statement, joining two tables together. Because we need to join out from the periods. So this is the key, basically. We know anytime you have a period of October of 87, that really should be 20th October 1987, right? So we're going to join those two files together and use this one as a key. Okay. And to do that, you're going to just use a data step, and the keyword is merge. Okay. So just like I said, we're going to take our original file and the one that has our period in it that we already made. We're going to merge those date means, which is only 5 or 6 rows inside that total, and we're going to merge it by period. So whenever you have the one that says that October 1987 period, we're going to now place that variable as this 20 of October 1987 in there. Okay. Okay. So here now we end up with, this is the original date from the sample, right? This was the period that we plugged in with that first data statement, right? Where we said, all right, we're going to draw something out. And we had to do that because we needed this to have a key somehow. So we needed some way to know that these were the period. But now we're going to have this full date variable that's a means date in between the two. Okay? So you're going to have to use either one of these. In fact, this is the homework file, right? So make sure you save this code because you'll need this, and then you're going to be using this field to do your analysis on later on, not just for this homework, but the other homeworks as well. Okay? Because now we have our sample period. So, because we're assuming that that period between 20th of October is all those samples in here, right? Okay. And if we look at it, that field should say date X. Not that one. Date X. Right? So if we did an analysis using date versus date X, we're going to get a different response, right? Okay. Okay. And we've got like maybe 2 minutes. So any questions over the homework?
No, but can you just let up for seconds?
Yeah.
Cheryl answer.
Is there any reason you should just drop the original column and then drop the
You could.
October 87 column, or whatever, because you're not going to use them?
I wouldn't drop it with, okay, so you see like this date NC? This is just in my work, so I didn't save this. right?
Make it
So probably what I want to do is make a composite of it, because I don't want to save this over the original file. Like, I really don't want to lose the data of when I actually did the sampling. But it would be good to know the period for that. So probably, let's say data, let's just do another step. Let's see, it's not the, is this our composite file? Which one was this? NC, so it is our composite. We're gonna call it that. Let's see if it'll let me get away with the name that big. Dave. Yeah. And then let's drop date and period. Anything else we need to drop? Let's see. I probably want to rename that, right? So I'm going to drop date. How you do the richest report. Let's go back. Okay. Right? And now I can sort. So now it's date X. And what's the other? Date X, rep, no, station, then rep. That's what we want.
Why is mine not working?
All right. So now we're going to sort it. And this should be in the save file. All right.
Now
Okay.
that worked.
Everybody has this file, so you can do the homework.
Change.
We'll make sure before we leave. Everybody has this.
Can you go back
Close,
for a
You
second?
closed or not?
Can you
Where the
Yeah.
heck it went?
What's this? So the numbers are different?
It might be easier just to talk to you after.
Okay. Because I'm going to go right back to HRI.
Why is this not working?
And this, I'm going to save, I'm going to annotate it, and then I'm going to save it on Dropbox. Okay? Because this should take, because I'm starting all the way up here, starting at the actual Excel file.
Fire.
Save a copy, sort and mean. Change the sections. we come down here and now even some clean the cores up. Save the folder. Insert the period. And the dates. Then we come down here and then we merge. And we save and sort it.
Can you pull up that final table one more time? Okay.
And they're not in pretty order because I haven't showed you the keys to move things around yet. So don't worry about that. That should be the final. Okay. But I'm going to put this on Dropbox. And Thursday, I'm going to teach again, but it will be